been heavy.
Basis of political loyalty, danced and sang where pro-democracy activists made their last stand. The symbolism lost on no one. In a continuing reminder of the international outrage provoked by the killing, American Ambassador James Lilly and several other Western envoys boycotted the proceedings. The extravaganza in Tiananmen was the climax of a day of highly organized festivities to commemorate the moment when, in 1949, Chairman Mao Zedong stood on the rostrum of the square and proclaimed the establishment of Communist China. But the occasion was overshadowed by a massive security operation on the part of a regime unsure of the loyalty of its own people. With anti-government sentiment still widespread 4 months after the massacre here, the authorities were taking no chances their carefully staged celebration might be marred by protests for democracy. Soldiers sealed off all main roads to the city center and surrounded Tiananmen. Only those with official permission were allowed to enter. Even in the parks, attendance at cultural performances was limited to those in organized groups. For the ordinary Beijing resident, it was a day to stay at home. But in the square, it was a time to glorify the triumph of the hardliners now in charge in Beijing, the men who've turned China away from meaningful reform and back on the road of orthodox communism. Mike Chinoy, CNN, Beijing.
In the nation's capital, they gathered beneath one of America's most powerful symbols of freedom. In New York, they congregated outside the Chinese consulate, and under the watchful eye of officials inside, shouted their fury at the Beijing government. And outside the consulate in Los Angeles, protesters rented a tank, a reminder of June 4th, the day Chinese tanks rolled into Tiananmen Square to silence the call for freedom. On the 40th anniversary of communist rule in China, protesters gathered across the country to keep the dream alive for those who died for democracy. In Washington, they came from Stanford, from Princeton, and from places in between. A couple of thousand strong, the protesters spanned the generations to deliver a message as simple as it was powerful.
Democracy, freedom, human rights, justice.
I'm here fighting for the freedom for the China.
From the Lincoln Memorial, protesters traveled 20 blocks to the Chinese embassy. Walking for those whose march was halted in Tiananmen Square. Though their numbers were diminished by a driving rain, passions were fiery outside the embassy. Many demonstrators said they felt a moral obligation to take part, to speak for those whose voices have been stilled. Asked about the weather, one marcher said, "I had colleagues who died in Tiananmen. How can I complain about freedom in the rain?" Though rain-drenched, the message was undiluted. Freedom, democracy, and human rights. Candy Crowley, CNN, Washington.